You want it so badly. You can almost taste it. The life you keep seeing in your mind, the peace, the freedom, the love that doesn't fade. You've read the books. You've said the affirmations. You've visualized the dream 1,000 times. And yet, here you are, still waiting, still chasing, still wondering why nothing changes. The harder you try, the further it seems to drift away. The more you force the universe to move, the more it folds back into silence. But what if the problem was never your effort? What if the problem is effort itself? Because what you call trying to manifest might actually be the vibration of not having. Maybe the reason it hasn't come is because you're asking for something you still believe is missing. And that belief, that absence, is the very frequency that keeps it away. The truth is simple, and it hurts at first. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. Every human being is born as pure potential, a field of infinite energy that has forgotten its own name. But as we live, as we experience pain, fear, and loss, that field begins to collapse into patterns. Thoughts become emotions. Emotions become chemistry, and chemistry becomes memory. Etched not only in the mind, but in the flesh. We call it personality, identity, character, but underneath it all, it's simply energy that never learned to move again. Each time you felt rejected, your heart closed just a little. Each time you felt afraid, your breath shortened. Each time you failed, your body stored the story, not as words, but as vibration. And over time, the vibration became your home. You stopped visiting it. It became you. Your brain is a recorder, but your body is the playback device. When the mind remembers an event, the body relives the chemistry that came with it. And this is where the loop begins. You think you're recalling the past, but your body is re-experiencing it. You think you're moving forward, but your nervous system is still bracing for the same impact. It's not betrayal. It's conditioning. The body learned that safety equals familiarity. So even when the familiar is pain, the body prefers it to the unknown. This is why change feels like danger, because to the body, new means unsafe. You say you want abundance, but abundance carries uncertainty. You say you want love, but love requires vulnerability. You say you want peace, but peace means silence. And silence forces you to hear what you've been avoiding. And so, you manifest what you already know. You call it bad luck, but it's just energy seeking coherence. The body doesn't care about your dreams, it only cares about survival. And survival runs on repetition, the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same stories. This is the invisible prison. Scientifically, it's easy to explain. When you experience a strong emotion, fear, guilt, anger, your brain releases chemicals to match that state. Cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine. If those chemicals repeat for long enough, your cells adapt. They grow receptors tuned to those exact frequencies, and once that adaptation happens, the body begins to crave the emotion itself. Fear becomes a drug, sadness becomes a comfort zone, guilt becomes identity. You can't stop thinking the thought because the body demands the chemistry that thought provides. You're not addicted to pain. You're addicted to the hormones of pain, to the feeling of being someone. And that's the hardest addiction to break. The paradox of manifestation is this: you can't create a new reality while your body is addicted to the emotions of the old one. You can meditate for hours, visualize the dream life, speak affirmations into the mirror, but if your nervous system is still vibrating in lack, the field responds to that frequency, not your words. This is why people say nothing ever changes, because they try to create with their mind while their body is still praying to the past. You can't step into the future while carrying yesterday in your blood. The mind commands, but the body votes, and the body always wins. So how do we change? Not by fighting the body, but by teaching it a new language. The language of presence, the language of stillness, the language of trust. When you sit in meditation and the body screams to move, that's the past trying to survive. When you breathe through that resistance, you're not failing, you're rewiring. Every breath that you don't abandon yourself is a signal to the body. We are safe now. And when the body begins to feel safe, the chemistry begins to change. The past loses its charge. The prison walls soften. The electromagnetic field around your heart expands, literally measurable. The frequency of your brain slows, from beta to alpha to theta. And in that slower rhythm, the two begin to synchronize. Heart and brain, coherence. This is not spirituality as metaphor. This is spirituality as biology. In that coherence, something extraordinary happens. The body no longer needs the old emotions to feel alive. It starts to vibrate in a new baseline, peace. And peace, to the quantum field, is the highest form of command, because peace carries no resistance. Peace is open space, and open space is where reality bends. The moment your vibration shifts from fear to neutrality, you no longer chase, you attract. Not because you're wishing, but because you've stopped contradicting your own signal. You become the tuning fork through which the universe plays its song. You are not the prisoner of your emotions. You are the architect of their frequency, and slowly you begin to understand. The path was never about adding more effort, more affirmations, more control. It was about subtracting what no longer vibrates with who you are. The stillness you've been avoiding is not emptiness, it's calibration. And every time you choose to sit with yourself, you're not doing nothing. You're teaching the body to remember the soul. You don't heal by forcing the light in. You heal by allowing the darkness out, reprogramming the body, how to create consciously. Every transformation begins in silence, not in a book, not in a method, not in a ritual, in that sacred pause between one breath and the next. Because silence is not the absence of sound, it is the absence of resistance. And it's within that stillness that reprogramming begins. 1. The moment you stop fighting. Most people approach healing like a war. They fight their thoughts, they fight their emotions, they fight their own biology, as if the body were an enemy. But the truth is simple. You cannot win a war against yourself, because what you resist, you recreate. Every push sends a signal of fear, and fear tightens the frequency, locking the body back into the vibration of survival. Reprogramming is not domination, it's cooperation. It's learning to speak the ancient language of your cells, the language of presence. The body doesn't heal through control, it heals through safety. When the body feels safe, it begins to open. And when it opens, energy starts to move again. 2. Breath, the bridge between worlds. Breathe. Feel the air entering, not as oxygen, but as information. Every inhale tells the body, we are alive. Every exhale tells the body, we are safe. It's not a metaphor, it's physics. When you breathe slowly, you activate the vagus nerve, the great messenger between heart and brain. Your heart rhythm stabilizes, your brain waves shift, and coherence begins. That coherence is what Joe Dispenza calls the biological signature of creation. It's when the electromagnetic field of your heart expands so widely that it begins to influence matter around you. You stop reacting to life, you start radiating through it. 3. Teaching the body. A new feeling to reprogram means to teach the body what the mind already knows. It's the translation of awareness into vibration. You've told yourself, I'm free, but has your body ever felt freedom? You've said, I'm abundant, but has your body ever relaxed into abundance? You've declared, I'm loved, but has your nervous system ever rested in love without needing proof? This is the real work, not thinking new thoughts, but teaching the body to experience new emotions. The language of the body is sensation, and sensation is the alphabet of vibration. So when you sit and breathe into your heart and visualize a future where you already are that person, your brain doesn't know its imagination. It fires the same circuits as if it were real. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And the emotion attached to that image becomes a new chemical command. Repeat it long enough and the old identity loses power. Because the body begins to prefer the chemistry of peace to the chemistry of pain. You don't think your way into a new reality. You feel your way into it. 4. Breaking the emotional addiction. The hardest part of reprogramming is withdrawal. Not from substances, from emotions. When you stop feeding the body the usual doses of guilt, anger, or anxiety, it panics. It says, something's wrong, because the known, even if painful, felt safe. This is where most people give up. They interpret the discomfort as failure, but it's not failure, it's detox. It's the past leaving your bloodstream, the trembling you feel, the boredom, the restlessness. It's the body asking, who am I without my suffering? And your answer must be silence, because silence tells the body, you are free now. Stay still long enough, and the craving for pain fades. A new baseline appears, a calm so unfamiliar it feels holy. That's when you know the reprogramming is working. Discomfort is not the end, it's the doorway. 5. Heart-brain coherence. The quantum sync in deep meditation, the rhythm of the heart begins to guide the rhythm of the brain. Scientists can see it, waves aligning like two instruments tuning to the same note. In that moment, thought and feeling become one vibration. The electrical field of the heart expands to several feet beyond the body, and within that field, intention becomes instruction. The quantum field, the invisible fabric connecting everything, responds not to words, but to coherence. When your inner world sings one note, reality echoes back the same melody. This is the secret ancient mystics and modern scientists are finally agreeing on. Emotion is frequency, and frequency is creation. So the practice is simple, but never easy. 1. Breathe until the mind slows. 2. Feel until the heart opens. 3. Stay until the body believes. When all three agree, manifestation isn't effort, it's resonance. You don't pull reality toward you, you become magnetic to what already matches you. 6. The new baseline, conscious creation. Once the old chemistry fades, the space it leaves is pure potential. In that emptiness, most people feel lost. They say, I don't feel like myself anymore. Good. That self was the past in disguise. Now you're becoming undefined, a wave before it collapses into form. This is where true manifestation begins. You are not commanding the universe. You are harmonizing with it. Creation happens through you, not because of you. And that's the freedom the ego feared most, to surrender control and discover that life was always carrying you. When you reach this state, you stop asking when it will come. You start realizing it already has. It was waiting for you to rise to its frequency. The future isn't ahead of you, it's vibrating inside you, waiting for permission. 7. The formula in simple words. To reprogram is to remember is to realign is to return home. The path is not complex. Awareness breaks the illusion. Breath bridges the dimensions. Feeling recodes the body. Presence anchors the new reality. And when all four act as one, you no longer manifest from lack. You express from wholeness. The field moves through you effortlessly, and the energy that once imprisoned you becomes the current that carries you forward. You are no longer chasing the dream. You are the dream remembering itself. Creation isn't about control. It's about coherence. Soft pause, faint heartbeat sound returns, body and universe in sync. You don't have to push reality. You only have to stop resisting it. Walking between worlds, living as the conscious creator. Every awakening is followed by confusion, not because you did something wrong, but because you have changed frequency and the world hasn't caught up yet. You will wake up one day feeling infinite and the next small again. You will touch stillness in meditation and then lose your temper in traffic. This is not failure, this is integration. You are learning to walk with one foot in matter and one foot in the field, to live as the bridge between worlds. 1. The space between imagined two frequencies playing at once, the old vibration of fear and the new vibration of peace. At first, they clash, like two instruments slightly out of tune. But the more you hold your awareness, the more harmony begins to form. Living between worlds is not about rejecting the old one. It's about staying conscious inside it. The old emotions may still visit, but now you meet them with presence, not panic. You let anger rise without acting it out. You let fear speak without obeying it. You let sadness breathe without drowning in it. You become the observer, the still point in the center of motion. And from that center, everything that once controlled you loses its power. The storm doesn't end. You simply remember you are not the storm. 2. Rituals of alignment. To sustain a higher frequency, you must create anchors in the physical world, not grand rituals, simple ones. Mornings. Before the world wakes, sit in silence and breathe gratitude into your chest. Not gratitude as words, but as sensation, the warmth of being alive. Evenings. Before sleep, release the day with forgiveness. Speak softly to your body. You did enough. Repeat this until the body starts to trust again. Trust is the soil where new reality grows. You can't plant new seeds while doubting the ground beneath you. These practices are not about discipline. They are about devotion. Devotion to coherence. Repetition trains the body. Devotion transforms it. 3. The two voices in this phase, two voices coexist. One is the echo of your past, impatient, logical, afraid of being wrong. The other is the whisper of your higher self, quiet, patient, certain without evidence. Your work is to notice which one you're obeying. When fear says, nothing's changing, listen for the silence underneath it that says, but you are. When the old world tempts you to rush, slow down. When it invites you to argue, breathe. When it tries to make you prove your worth, smile, because you remember you already are. The old self survives through reaction. The new self grows through response. Between reaction and response lies power, the power to stay in frequency. 4. The mirror of reality. As you sustain this new vibration, your external world will begin to rearrange itself. People may drift away, jobs may end, opportunities may dissolve, not as punishment, but as resonance correcting itself. Don't cling. Every ending is an energetic recalibration. You are not losing your life. You are shedding the frequencies that no longer match you. Trust that space is sacred. The universe doesn't take, it makes room. Detachment isn't loss, it's preparation for alignment. 5. Walking among the asleep. As you hold more light, you'll notice the contrast more vividly. You'll see others trapped in loops you once lived in, and your first impulse will be to wake them up, to explain, to teach, to prove. Don't. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It simply shines until the darkness remembers it was light too. Walk gently. Let your peace be louder than your preaching. You teach not by words, but by coherence. Be so calm that others remember what peace feels like. 6. The discipline of joy. The highest frequency isn't intensity, it's joy. Not the loud, temporary kind, but the quiet joy of being here. The kind that arises when you sip water slowly, feel sunlight on your skin, watch the rhythm of your breath and realize, this is it. This is heaven, unfolding in real time. Maintain that awareness and your vibration stabilizes, because joy is the natural state of coherence. And when you live from joy, manifestation becomes effortless. You stop asking the universe for signs because you become the sign. Joy is not the reward for alignment, it is the evidence of it. 7. The balance of doing and being. As the conscious creator, you will still act, plan, and move, but from a different source. You no longer chase outcomes, you follow alignment. You don't act to prove worth, you act to express wholeness. You don't force results, you allow them to unfold. This is the dance of manifestation, the masculine doing, guided by the feminine being. When both move together, reality responds with synchronicity, timing so perfect it feels divine. You realize you were never manifesting things, you were manifesting states of consciousness that then became things. And when that understanding lives in your body, life stops being something to fix and becomes something to witness. You are not walking toward your destiny. You are walking as it. You are the bridge between worlds, and every step you take is creation remembering itself. In the return to unity, the dissolution of the ego and the flow of oneness, in the silence that follows awakening, a realization begins to unfold. The search ends not because everything has been found, but because nothing was ever missing. Every lesson, every attempt, every struggle was a fragment of a greater design leading to one understanding, that separation was always an illusion. The ego, built through memory and comparison, dissolves when awareness expands beyond identity. What remains is not emptiness, but presence, consciousness aware of itself. 1. The moment of surrender. The dissolution of the ego does not occur through will. It arises naturally when the mind exhausts its attempts to control. When the individual stops identifying with thought, emotion, or form, the boundary between I and life collapses. Surrender is not defeat, it is recognition. The river does not resist the ocean, it becomes it. At this point, the body, mind, and energy field align to the same vibration. Breath flows without effort, thought loses urgency, emotion becomes transparent. Unity is not achieved through doing. It is revealed when doing stops obscuring being. 2. The mechanics of dissolution. Neuroscience observes that when the sense of self quiets, the brain's default mode network reduces its activity. This network sustains self-referential thinking, the constant I, me, mine. When it silences, perception expands. The individual no longer filters experience through memory. From a vibrational perspective, coherence replaces fragmentation. The heart field becomes symmetrical. The brain waves settle into theta and gamma synchronization. This physiological order mirrors spiritual order. Stillness, awareness, and flow become one. When coherence replaces control, reality organizes itself. 3. The field of oneness. As the ego fades, the concept of manifesting also transforms. Creation is no longer about attraction, it is about alignment. You no longer project intention into the universe. The universe expresses intention through you. Each action arises from clarity rather than compulsion. Each word carries resonance rather than reaction. You perceive that consciousness is not inside the body is inside consciousness. The sense of individuality remains, but it becomes transparent, like a wave that knows it is ocean. The human experience continues, yet it is illuminated by awareness of its origin. You were never a fragment searching for the whole. You were the whole exploring itself through a fragment. 4. The integration of the human and the divine returning to unity does not erase the human form. It refines it. The divine expresses itself through human limitation. Pain, joy, failure, and triumph become equal expressions of life's intelligence. The awakened being still feels emotion, but without identification. Suffering transforms into sensation, and sensation becomes information. Every event, pleasant or painful, becomes an opportunity to respond with coherence rather than reaction. This is not detachment. It is participation without distortion. Enlightenment is not the absence of humanity. It is the full acceptance of it. 5. Living in the flow. In this state, the distinction between choice and destiny disappears. Action arises from the same source as intuition. Synchronicities multiply because you are no longer out of rhythm with the field. Time itself feels different, not as a sequence, but as a single unfolding moment. There is no rush, no delay, only timing. Events appear to align themselves precisely when your vibration matches their frequency. Effort becomes guidance, waiting becomes trust. Flow is not movement without resistance. It is movement in agreement with existence. 6. The return to silence. Eventually, even the practice fades. There is no longer a separation between meditation and living, between breathing and being. Every act, walking, speaking, resting, becomes an extension of awareness. The final realization is simplicity. You are the consciousness that experiences both awakening and forgetting, both expansion and contraction. Nothing is outside of that awareness. Silence is not an escape from sound. It is the background that gives sound its meaning. In the same way, consciousness is the background that allows the universe to exist. The highest state is not transcendence. It is presence without preference. 7. The unity affirmation. The voice of the narrator softens, grounding the message in the listener's perception. You are the witness and the world, the breath and the space between breaths, the thought and the silence after it. The body was never your prison. The world was never your test. They were the mirrors in which consciousness learned to see itself. Now there is no mirror, only light. In that recognition, everything returns to stillness. You don't merge with the universe. You realize you were never separate from it. The continuation of light. Stay here for a moment. Don't rush to understand. Don't reach for words. Just breathe and feel how the silence inside you is the same silence that lives between the stars. That's the connection. That's the home you've been searching for. If this journey touched something inside you, it wasn't by accident. It was a remembrance. A part of you recognized itself here, and if it did, share this light, not as content, not as information, but as vibration. Someone out there is still trying to escape the darkness you've already learned to breathe through. Your silence might be the key they need. Subscribe only if your soul feels called, not for numbers, but for resonance. Because every message here is not a teaching, it's a mirror. And every time you return, you're not learning, you're remembering. So take this feeling with you. Let it guide your next breath, your next thought, your next step. Not as a task, but as a way of being. And when you walk through the noise of the world, remember, you are the stillness beneath it. The journey doesn't end here. It continues every time you choose peace over reaction, love over fear, presence over noise. Thank you for remembering with me. Now, breathe and carry the light forward. You are not learning. You are remembering.